Happy Thursday, Bwalya Desmond here. Thank you for tuning in. Today's message is completely inspired by a training that I heard this morning by a coach on the Higdon Group, Stacy Hall. So I titled the message, "What is your primary question?" So Stacy today spoke about the primary question being deeply rooted from your childhood. She said it's something that happened to you as a child that has set the stage for your limiting beliefs and that has kept you stuck. That might be the reason that you're stuck. She said the primary questions form the lens with which you see people, the way that you react to people, and even the way that you show up. So in her example, she spoke about her primary question being one that was triggered from when her dad left their family when she was a young girl. So he went off and raised a whole different family with a whole different woman. So her mind was always like, why wasn't I good enough for him to raise me? Like, he raised other kids, but he never raised me. So that's always something that triggers her. So when something doesn't go well, when she doesn't accomplish something, that is her trigger. That question comes back over and over again. So some of the things that you might be thinking for questions is it, why is it always them and not me? Where you see people succeeding and you're like, why is it them? Why can't it ever be me? Or you might be like, like her, why am I not good enough? So maybe you went through some things when you were younger that always trigger that, why am I not good enough? Maybe you're always told that you always had to, once you did something, it was like, never good enough. What about the next thing? Never good enough. What about the next thing? Or someone else gets picked and you're always thinking, I never get picked. Maybe, like when you're a child where you have activities that you form groups and, you pick teams and you're always left out. You're always never chosen. So that might be a trigger that happens to you even to this day. Or why don't things ever change for me? Why is it always hard for me? When you can think about your childhood, what could be one of those primary questions for you? And if you can't figure it out, she said, just wait for the time when something is not going to go your way, or something you're not going to be able to accomplish something. What is that internal dialogue that happens to you right away? What is the question that forms in your mind right away? That could be your primary question. What is it that comes to your mind when you don't accomplish something, or when something doesn't go your way? And she said, since you can't stop that thought, because that's always going to continue to happen. I mean, as long as you're alive, you're going to go through things that are going to trigger it. She said, think of something that you can say instead to reframe that negative question. Turn it into a positive. So maybe if you're thinking, why is it them and not me? Why is it always them and not me? Like, how can you look at somebody else's success differently? How can you ask yourself, what can I take from how she or he succeeded? What can I use? What are the things that she did to get to where she is now that can help me, so I can use them in my own life? What kind of skill set can you learn that can help you get better? Or how can I be more grateful? Gratitude. How can I be more grateful? So for those of you who already know your primary question, I want you to think of 3 things that you can say to reframe that negative thought. And if you don't know what your primary question is, then wait for something that's going to trigger it. So wait for something that might not go your way, or something that you don't achieve, and then wait for that internal dialogue to start. And then you can pinpoint and say, that's my primary question. And then come up with the 3 questions that you can use to reframe that negative question. So I hope this helps. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow.